Hello. Sorry to bother you. Can I ask you a slightly odd question? I'm making a podcast called Strangers on a Bench, where essentially I talk to people I don't know on benches for 10 or 15 minutes. Are you up for that? Do you want to give it a go? What's your favourite day of the week?
Friday.
Straight off. Why?
It always used to be the end of the working week, and although I don't work anymore, it stayed as a favourite day. And there's a lightness about Friday. So Monday today, it's lovely, but there's not that lightness there on Friday.
So you still feel heavy on a Monday even now?
No, I don't feel heavy. I just feel lighter on a Friday.
Okay, let's go from this Friday, from
Okay.
the start of it to the end of it.
Yeah.
How are you spending an ideal Friday?
Waking up without back pain, doing a bit of exercise, looking at the weather, planning a walk, going for a walk. It could be 2 hours, it could be 4 hours.
Quite a chunky walk.
Yes.
4
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah,
How many miles per hour is that?
I've no idea.
What's your walking speed?
Well, I'm sitting now looking at the little ducklings, so I factor in sitting down.
Oh, I see. So is that part of the 4 hour?
Yeah. Well, not always, but sometimes. And I always like to do some hills, because hills, I think that's the exercise bit.
Important.
So I'll go up and down a few hills. Home, chat with the husband, few chores, read the paper. That's about it, really.
Do you not walk with the husband?
No.
Why?
He's got a bad back.
So have you.
And he walks too slowly.
He walks too slowly.
Yeah, it just
Behind.
does my head in. It's like having a toddler. No. So, and in fact, he's had a bad back for decades and decades.
Oh,
This
I
is just
see.
fairly recent for me. So,
Oh, I see.
So I appreciate that it's hard for him.
Has your back problem helped you sympathise?
No.
No.
Not really. No, because I get on with it.
You're physically just...
I
You mentally struggle than your husband, is that what you're saying?
I certainly moan less than he does, but I will concede that his pain is probably worse than mine.
But we don't really know that for sure.
We don't know
There's
for
no
sure,
knowing that.
but he does walk very slowly. And the very, very interesting thing is that despite having chronic backache, he can still manage to play golf.
Oh, okay. Plot twist there.
Cherry picking there?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Although there are golf buggies. Is he ever,
Yeah.
is he ever in a golf buggy?
When he's just got back from a week's holiday in the abroad, a very hot country called Turkey, and I think he's had a golf buggy then. So,
If he could walk the exact same speed as you,
yeah.
would you still like him to come walking with you, or do you quite enjoy
I'd like him to join me perhaps twice a week, but I'm very, very, very happy walking by myself.
There's a peace time.
I just love the sorting out your head time, and I
Yeah.
just love it. So,
On your walks at the moment, what are you mostly thinking about?
children, family issues, how to sort things, or stand back rather than sort them.
Where do you stand on interference?
I'm a big interferer, a seriously big interferer.
Has that always worked?
Oh God, no. 1 time out of 10 probably it works. No.
But it keeps you
But
going.
in fact, I was literally saying to my husband this morning, I don't get how people find having babies so difficult these days. And I think it's because of all the information that's available. Because I can remember coming home from hospital with baby number 1. Husband picked me up, dropped me off, went to work. And it wasn't easy, but it wasn't hugely problematic. And it's just that someone recently has had a baby and is really, really struggling. And I get that it can be hard, but I just don't get that it has to be that hard.
But what-
I sound really harsh then.
It's okay. I'm interested in what you say about information. Why do you think information is making it more complicated?
Because I think they want to know everything. So rather than let things flow, so if a baby cries, feed it, put it down. If it cries again, just feed it, cuddle it, whatever. But there's this fascination with wanting to know if there's anything wrong, if there is something wrong, what is it, how to go about solving it, who to see, when in fact it's just a baby crying.
Sure.
And I experienced this with my own children. Well, with two, I've got 4 children, so
You got 4?
I've got 4. So
That's quite a lot.
2 of them. And I just think it just leads them to worry about things that aren't worth worrying about. I just thought it was just a really enjoyable time. But that speaks to the control freak in me, because the best time for me was having the children, being in control of everything and how things were going, being organised, finding it fairly easy. Then as soon as they start to assert themselves, I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
What's happened here?
What do I do here? Yeah, absolutely, what do I do? So it was definitely my finest hour, the new baby bit. I've gone downhill rapidly ever since.
I guess must be hard to relinquish being the decisive force suddenly and then not. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing, how do you tell? I guess, I mean, it must be impossible just to turn that off.
Well, it is, and it's more difficult when you know that, or you can see the accident happening ahead.
Were there any particular interventions that, in hindsight, you wish you didn't make?
Whew. I'm just I'm a nosy person, I'm an interfering person, and I'm a really controlling person. And I think my interventions inevitably are unhelpful. So a little thing, but in fact it's quite a big thing in the event. I've got a son who lives in a flat in London, wanted a dog. Got this lovely, lovely dog, really, really mad dog, but also a baby. And it's really affected their first 6 months of having a baby. It's made life so much more difficult.
Yeah.
And I was really, really, really against them having a dog. I didn't think it was fair on the dog. This is their first baby, and they're never going to have the first baby the first 6 months again. And having the dog has caused an awful lot of strife. And I really, really, really wanted my husband to say, if you say something, they listen to you because you never say anything. So your
yes.
opinion is worth something. And
You were trying to get him to say something.
no, I said something, I did, and I
Yeah.
kept saying, if you're going to have a dog, have a different dog, what have you.
Where does this side of you come from, do you think? Is it always,
Me?
yeah, has it always been there? Or is it children brought it on?
No, I think it's always been there. My mother was like this. And yet my father was very much like my husband, a really, really nice man, and my husband's a really, really nice man, but wouldn't deliberately offer an opinion that might be a little bit conflicting.
So you've replicated your mother's
I
life.
have.
Has that been a good idea?
No.
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 Does that mean you regret everything?
No, I don't regret everything. It's just that if you have opinions, it's more likely that you're going to be unpopular if those opinions are unpopular. And I'm in an odd place because I come from a fairly deprived background, certainly not privileged background. And I met somebody who had been to public school, who was frightfully charming, and really, really charming. He could charm you, could charm your wife or your partner.
Oh.
So charming. And I'd never met anybody like that before, and I thought, oh my gosh, that must be really special. And in fact, it took me a while to realise that he spoke to everybody like that. So I've moved from really quite a working class existence into a middle class existence. And a lot of my opinions are formed because of the background I come from.
Interesting.
But those opinions aren't replicated in the world I move in.
Does that mean that people don't like you?
I think a lot of people don't like me.
Really?
I think I'm very much a Marmite person. People,
Yeah.
when they like me, they really, really like me. And
They react strongly against you if they don't.
yeah, it's so obvious that people prefer my husband because he's easy to be with. I think people probably find me more interesting, but less likable.
Okay.
Well, in fact, I know people find me more interesting, and I know they find me less likable. So I haven't any doubt.
And this
there.
doesn't particularly bother you? I mean, do you mind not being likeable to some?
Sometimes it does.
I mean, my general opinion about being likeable is that it's really important that the people I like me.
Yeah.
But the people that I don't particularly have any inclination towards, if they don't like me, that's not a big problem.
Absolutely. And I've noticed it's getting worse actually. I've got older. I think, well, I'm never going to see you again. What is the point of being an effort? You know. So I've become very antisocial because I can't be bothered.
Yeah. You don't want to make any new friends. You made enough.
And what I really love, because the day before yesterday I came here and spoke to a really lovely young man sitting on the bench there.
Yeah.
And we must have spent about half an hour, 45 minutes talking about God, religion.
Wow. Oh, so you've been practicing talking to strangers on benches already?
Well, I thought you were part of the same
setup.
thing. But I do stop and talk. And this, when we go to our holiday home, my husband, because of his back, doesn't walk very often, although he can play golf there. So I meet so many people, from all over the country, and have a chat and a coffee and what have you.
So you quite enjoyed that?
Yes.
But you also like the fact that you could just walk away and never
absolutely.
be seen again?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it kind of works for you?
Yeah.
Did you strike up a conversation with this young guy out of interest, or did he strike up with you?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe you could take over from me. I could pass the baton on.
It was about the ducklings. I was really worried about, because they were nice, started off with nice. See, look.
What?
Where the heron is now.
He's prowling around.
Is he going to? I can't see.
I can't see any ducklings.
Well, he hasn't eaten them, has he?
No, I don't think so.
No.
There are no ducklings there. Well, good on you for having the conversations.
People are very friendly.
They are, aren't they? I'm very interested in this idea of you come from a background that is not particularly well off, by the sounds of it. And then you've stumbled upon, obviously, someone who's got money. What's it like to suddenly transform your life like that?
Well, no, I'm making it sound more dramatic. He's not a duke or anything. He's not massively rich. I just happened to have a good education, went to university, went into an area where there weren't that many women, and was introduced to him by a colleague. And I'd never met anybody who was posh before, because at university I stayed in these sort of non-posh group of people. And I slowly got used to how people talked and how they ate and their obsession with education. And I think I probably was the only Labour voter that they'd come across ever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you feel about posh people now?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I think, well, it depends how posh they are, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like privilege. Privilege really gets my back up. I hate privilege. And I say this to my husband sometimes, because he'll go out and buy something or whatever, and I'll say, do you know how much that costs? He said, no. He would never, ever, ever, ever ask the price of anything, because he'd never had to do with that money. Whereas if there was £5 off at a different store,
You go and do it.
I would walk to the store that had £5 off. And he says, that's stupid.
Have you lost anything being in these worlds?
Oh, yeah.
What have you lost?
I'll get upset now. I've lost my values.
All of them?
Not all of them. I would really, really, really like to go into politics. I'm opinionated, I'm gobby. I think if you have me on your side, you're doing well, is my view, because I will fight your corner really hard. Oh my!
What is it?
Just try to eat one of those birds. Sorry.
It's stressful, isn't it?
Well, that's nature. Look at the little things. Sorry.
No, wait. So when you talk about politics?
Politics. No, I would have made a good politician.
Still time.
No,
Why
I
not?
can't. Because my backstory, my principles have just gone out of the window.
Have you heard of spin?
No, you can't spin me, because if you really breach your own values and principles, you talk the talk but don't walk the walk, then who's going to believe you? She could be a good politician. She could do a good job. Oh, didn't she send her children to private school?
That's always a way of framing things.
No, that's dishonest. I wouldn't want to be like that.
What other values have you lost then in this land? The posh people?
It's a lot of posh people. It's very difficult. I find this really difficult because I'm not posh, my husband's posh, my children are posh. And there is this sort of little bit of, not a barrier between us, but whereas I get where they come from, they will never, ever, ever get where I came from.
Interesting.
So, for instance, I always buy second-hand clothes. But the children, again, money's no object to them. I will spend money on the children, but I won't spend money on me. And I just think that when you're in a position of privilege, you have to work really, really hard to make other people's lives a little bit easier. So the day before yesterday, I sent a WhatsApp on the family WhatsApp group saying, just out of interest, is anybody a blood donor? I used to do that and donate platelets. And it just never occurred to me to ask the children if they did that. One of them, big brute of a rugby player, did it about 20 odd years ago and fainted, I think. So
That happened to me as well, you know.
What, you fainted?
Yeah, one of the last times I did it,
Yeah.
or the last time I did it, had a really bad fainting episode, and then they said, well, don't do this again for a while. Anyway.
Yeah.
What happened in the WhatsApp group? Sorry.
So I sent this WhatsApp and nobody's got back to me, so I'm assuming that nobody is interested. My daughter would be interested, but she can't do it. She's got a pacemaker, so she can't. But all these privileged, rich kids can't spend 20 minutes 3 times a year and give a little bit of something, which means more than money.
Yeah.
It's time. Time is really, really precious to
blood.
them. And blood, obviously. So,
Do you say that on the group? You rich little whatevers. Why don't you go
oh no.
Maybe you should.
Well, they know that.
They know you.
No, they know. They know what I think. They'd know why I was sending it, because they're lovely children, but they're privileged.
Has there been a time where you've been in this, what can we call it, this privileged posh world, whatever it is, where you've been genuinely upset at something you've seen or heard someone do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all the time. I meet more homophobic and racist people in that world than I do in my world. And as I'm saying it, I'm actually lying, because I go to a gym in Sheffield that's really, really working class, and I would think most people are racist, misogynistic, certainly sexist. So I'm talking myself out of my own argument there. Yeah.
We're going round. We don't. Well, you can. I mean, it's hard to know for sure, isn't it?
Well, certainly at the gym, when the chap next to you says something like, "Oh, they shouldn't have a women's only gym here. And why do they have to wear veils?"
Oh, I see.
And my response was, "But I thought you were a Christian with Christian values." And he didn't know what I was talking about. He had no idea that what he'd said was racist.
Yeah.
And there's this horrible, horrible underlying racism, especially against young women. And I think posh people, because they're more educated, can express that in a different sort of way.
Interesting. Yeah. That does make sense, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
So, for instance, when we go to our holiday home, I'm embarrassed about this. It's only a little cottage. Cottage, but there are certain people there who are very, very middle class and very homophobic.
Each time, do you try and
Absolutely,
say to them? Yeah.
absolutely.
Well done for doing that. A lot of people would just let it.
All the
just let it
time,
slide.
but my husband never does. To the point where I could actually be in tears, because I used to work with young people, and I used to see predominantly men, but boys, who would cry about the fact that they were gay, didn't want to be gay, and they'd cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. And then these people in this holiday place, they'd talk about lifestyle choices and really derogatory things about people who just find themselves attracted to the same sex, having no idea that for a lot of people, not so much now, fortunately, but a lot of people, it's really traumatic thinking,
Yeah.
I don't want to be like this, but I am like this. What do I do about it? Especially if you come from a religious family.
Yeah.
They just don't know what they don't know. But if they did know what they don't know, I suspect they'd still feel the same. That's the sad part about it. So,
Well done for taking people on. So many people would rather an easier life.
yeah.
So, I mean,
well,
it's-
I'd rather say something and have an easier life as well, because
Do it.
because It's just I've spoilt dinner parties and things.
Have you?
Everybody's laughing at things, and I'm thinking, no,
You spoilt dinner parties.
no. By saying things like,
And then the atmosphere is just
and
terrible afterwards.
yeah, it's just fairly obvious that somebody in the group has spoilt the atmosphere, and that's me.
Oh.
But it's not me. It's the person who's saying something derogatory about a lesbian or something.
Here's a big question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about leaving this world? Not the world in general. Sorry.
Oh God, yes.
This privileged world you don't like.
Absolutely, absolutely.
At what points have you thought about it?
When my husband and I, when I realised that we were completely different, my husband and I agreed, compromised, certainly with regard to education, has been a really, really big thing for me. Agreed that they'd start off in private school and then they'd go into the state school. We've got brilliant state schools in Sheffield, senior state schools, brilliant really, I mean top schools in the country.
Yeah.
And then it happened that that wasn't going to be the case. This was with child number one, and at that point I thought, if this is going to happen, I can't do this, I really can't do it.
I mean, you can't be
I can't
with your husband.
Yeah, I really thought that this is a really, really serious thing to
Just going against your
to
core
happen.
principles.
Yeah.
And so what happened then?
This is the thing about not knowing what you don't know. Because he went off to public school, he went off at 9.
Right.
Most kids will sit and cry or, go to bed and miss their mum. For him, he loved it.
Okay, I see.
So from year dot, he loved it, and he wanted his children to have the same experience.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, am I being a bit selfish here by standing on my principles and what have you? So against my better judgment, number one went away.
What was that like?
It was the unhappiest year of my life. It's a bit complicated in that he was at a school that I thought was just a little private school.
Yeah.
But in fact, it was a prep school. Do you know what a prep school is?
Yeah, I think
What?
so. Well, it's just like a private school for younger ones,
Yeah,
eh?
well, that's what I thought. But back in the day, a prep school was preparing them to go away.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
right.
So when son number one got to the age where people were talking about other schools, people were going off to all these boarding schools. And we actually live half a mile from one of the best schools in Sheffield. We're going there, and he got really upset about that. The husband got upset about it, and somehow I just felt bad about disappointing people, and that was because I didn't know what I didn't know. Now that I know what I didn't know then, there is no way that decision would have stood. I just wouldn't have allowed it. It just wouldn't have happened. In the event, I sobbed for a week, didn't speak to my husband for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. The son had a whale of a time. He didn't miss us at all. He was really, really, really happy, and he's made lots of lovely friends, really, really lovely friends, and had a great time. So then when son number 2 came along, when I said to him that he wasn't going to go to this school, he said, "So you don't love me as much.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
what can you do?" Daughter didn't want to go away, and son number 4, because the other 2 had turned out all right, I thought, well,
So you're saying in hindsight you would have potentially ended your marriage?
No, it wouldn't have got that far.
Okay.
It's always been a resentment, always been a resentment. I never, ever, ever, ever told people I had children who went to boarding school. I was so ashamed. I mean, really ashamed. I just felt a failure as a mother then, because what mother would send her children away to boarding school? It was just really, really hard, really hard. So every time we went, and we went very often to see the boy, my son or sons, I used to cry all the way there and cry all the way back. Literally, I mean, that's no
You
exaggeration.
were crying because you were going there.
Crying because I was going there and I hated
you had to
it.
go.
And I was really, really horrible. I was horrible to everybody because I was so worked up and anxious and upset and angry with myself.
Yeah.
I was rude, I was unpleasant, I was just horrible, horrible, horrible. And then I'd come back, cry because I regretted my behaviour, but also because I didn't want to leave them there. And it's amazing what you get used to. You know, you just get used to it. So I just got used to it. But I think it was weeks, if not months, before I could speak to my husband again because I felt he'd let me down so badly.
Wow.
But the son
So
was so...
months of not talking at all to your husband.
The son, well, niceties and things, but no, I just felt so utterly let down by him. He was quite happy about it, actually. He'd got his way, whether it's part of a major plan.
Do you hold it against him now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact...
Does it ever come up still?
Oh, God.
All the time?
Oh, seriously? Oh,
Really, even though it's all
absolutely.
gone?
Oh, no, I never let things go. No.
So what happened, like, now that, I mean, I'm interested to hear what that conversation would go like. 'Cause how does that work?
I just think that... So we live in a house that I've loathed. I've hated the house ever since we moved in. I
You hate the house you live in?
Yeah, and we've lived there for 45 years.
Wow, and you still hate it?
Absolutely
45
loathe it.
years later?
It's falling down around us. But it was sold to me as we'll move here for 5 years and then we'll find somewhere else. And then we couldn't afford to move because we had to pay school fees. So I've lived in a house that I've loathed for decades in order to pay for something that I didn't value, and it really has had an effect on my honestly,
that's
a real
heavy.
effect on my
I can
well-being
imagine.
because
45 years is such a long time to be in a place you don't really like.
if my husband was here, you could say to him, "What's the first thing she says to you in the morning?" And he will say, I absolutely guarantee he'll say, "I hate this house." Seriously, every day.
That's your first thing you wake up saying?
Yeah.
It sounds like your husband has, throughout the time you've been together, persuaded you a number of times slightly against your wishes. If he was here now, and I said, what has your wife persuaded you to do? What would he say to that question? Surely if the relationship has worked, there must have been some kind of give and take.
I know, but this is it looks as if I'm completely in charge because I'm more assertive. I'm always his fall guy. I've always got to do all the battles, and I think he will concede small things to me, but the major things in life, it doesn't look as if he's won, in inverted commas, but he has. Education of kids, I think that's one of the major things, especially when it has lifelong repercussions.
Sure.
Where we live, he's
won that as well.
He's won that, and I think that's fairly major.
So you think he's won the core things?
Well, no, he's won the core things, but he gets looked after. He's got someone who does all the dirty work in the sense that I'm always the person who has to assert myself and be unpopular and say things.
Yeah. And he's managed to get all this just by being charming?
Yeah, just people just think he's just really, 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 and he is really, 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 really nice. He's nice. It hurts me sometimes to be saying these things when he's clearly so nice, but...
I mean, apart from that moment of choosing the first child's education, have there been any moments you thought about not being with him?
I've wondered what it would be like. You know, we got married 48 years ago and we meant it when we said, you know, till death do us part. And sometimes it's been really, really not very nice, and other times it's fine. I don't know if it's any different from anybody else's relationship, but being married a long time is hard. It's not easy.
Have there ever been, bit of a personal question, but have there ever been any tempters for you?
Oh God, no. Oh, absolutely not. Why would anybody? Seriously? No. My daughter, sadly, her husband died a couple of years ago. Really, really sad. And she lives in the country with 2 small children. He was diagnosed with cancer, 41. And she was part of a cohort of people who were helped by charity.
Got a butterfly on you.
Oh gosh, scared of butterflies.
Are you? Oh, see,
Is it off?
it's off now. That's it's a rare fear.
No, it's because it's like a moth.
I suppose they're like a moth, but it's a butterfly. Sorry.
So she was part of a cohort of people who were all about to lose a partner through predominantly cancer at an early age, late 30s, early 40s, with small children. 3 men and 2 women. And they met up a couple of months ago. All the men had moved on. And obviously they've been through a bad thing. They're losing their wife early and having their children. But I'm thinking, well, what are their children thinking? You know, mum's just died and somebody else on the scene. And my daughter doesn't in any shape or form criticise. She just says, well, people need different things. And I think men are very needy. So why would a woman want to go and have an affair with somebody? Why? I mean,
Well, it happens.
Oh, no, it happens. Oh, yes, I know it happens.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm thinking, well, isn't one enough? Why on earth would you? But why would you? I say this actually on a regular basis. I really, really wish my daughter was lesbian because she's got so many lovely, lovely girlfriends.
The one whose husband died.
The one whose husband died. She's not lesbian. I've tried to get her to go to lesbian school, but she won't. Because women are just so much...
Better.
Well, they are. Sorry, but they are.
No, you're totally right.
I think
I completely agree.
So in our marriage, my husband certainly had a few offers.
You've got formal offers?
No, this is quite funny. His secretary came in one day and said, right, cards on the table, I'm in love with you. And he said, I can't. I've got 4 children. Which I thought was the priceless response. Not, I've got a wife and 4 children. I've got 4 children. And that's one of the reasons why I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, because my husband adores his children, he would never, ever, ever jeopardise the well-being of the children. And I would never, ever jeopardise the well-being of the children. So
Even now, though?
Even now, absolutely
Surely they
not.
wouldn't mind that much now, no?
Oh,
Or maybe they
no,
would.
No, they do.
Really?
Oh, they mind just as much, I think, perhaps even
Really?
more.
Or more?
Because then they wonder, oh, well, how much of a sham was it? Were we brought up in a bed of lies?
48-year sham.
Seriously.
Probably, oh, I see.
No, I think...
Do you think that's a
no.
factor, though? Is it,
Factor in
well,
not-
factor in not doing anything is the worry that the child might think it's a sham.
Well, not for me, because
So you've had no offers at all?
Well, I've had lots of offers, yeah, over the years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not interested in the slightest.
What's it like to be with someone who's very charming?
It's a bit disarming, actually, I think.
Out of interest, how did he charm you at the start? Do you remember the start?
It's a way of being. It's not
just how he
actually
is.
saying charming things. It's just a way of
Yeah.
being. And I have to say, he's known. He was the pin-up man of all these elderly people in Sheffield, widows, divorcees, who really thought he was, and probably still think he's a bee's knees, because he's just really, really charming. And he has a way with him that is just very, very easy. Whereas I don't.
So, do you remember how did he woo you?
He was an arrogant toad. A colleague had invited us all to a fundraising event, and she introduced me to him. And I knew he was interested straight away because he ignored me the entire evening. So I thought, well, that's it. I've got him. So then he came to another function and asked me out, and that was it, really.
Do you remember your first moment of kind of true connection?
Well, I do. Certainly within 6 months, I should think. I think it took him a few years longer. But
A few years.
well, just as I'm saying, I moved out of my sort of social circle. By being with me, he'd moved out of his social circle as well. So I certainly wasn't the sort of girlfriend that his parents were expecting
That's interesting.
to bring home.
Did you
So-
have to? I mean, did you ever get his parents' approval?
Well, after decades, yes.
After
No,
decades?
they didn't disapprove. I think it was my opinionated part of me that they didn't particularly like. But also, no, I used to wear the shortest skirts, and I suppose I'd look really common in Sheffield jargon. So it must have been a bit of a disappointment for them, really, when they had this idea that he was going to marry some sort of steel heiress or whatever. And then he came home with me. So from his point of view, I think there was a certain strangeness, there was a newness. I mean, he'd never been out with anybody who spoke like me before. And although, I mean, I can still hear my accent, but it's nowhere near as broad as it was. And I think he just hadn't come across somebody like me before. You know.
What about your parents?
And him, or parents?
Yeah, what did they think of him?
Oh, they thought he was lovely.
Oh, okay.
No, you can't find anyone who doesn't like him. Oh, no, it was a leg up as far as they were concerned.
How do you feel about your parents now, looking back at them?
I think of the different lives that my in-laws had and they had. And I think my parents just had it harder. And I think it's sad, really, that some people have to have it so hard and other people have it relatively easy. You know, if the really awful decision of the day is what type of gin to have with your gin and tonic in the evening is indicative of how you live. My parents didn't drink. I remember going to grammar school and everything I had was second-hand, all too big. And I remember these white sandals that had been dyed brown that were about 4 sizes too big. And I was so out of my comfort zone. And then I got there and I was put in the year above.
Is it clever?
Yeah. So the friends I'd had at my other school, they didn't engage with me because they said I was a snob because I was in the second. And in that year, it was really hard to make friendships. But also, I'd gone from being really quite a bright girl to, I missed a year of chemistry, of physics, of biology, of Latin, of French, and I had no idea where I was. So I really, 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 really struggled. I was going to be a doctor, but I spent so much time catching up that it just wasn't to be. So, but I was just remembering the discomfort. Now I wear second-hand clothes with pride. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't care a toss. When my son had a destination wedding I just find it so embarrassing expecting people to go to Italy for a wedding. I never, ever, 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 ever spend money on clothes. I just don't. But I bought this really, really special dress because I've been instructed what to wear as the mother of the bridegroom. Got there, and there was somebody else in the same dress. The only time I buy something new and there's somebody there. And,
they're the higher forces looking down.
It's a bloody awful dress as well. I mean, I don't know why I bought it.
So you hated this wedding?
Oh no, in fact the wedding was lovely. I just wish it hadn't been a
Italy.
destination wedding. I just don't agree with it. Because in fact, at these destination weddings, have you been to any of them?
I have.
Yeah. Everybody gets married beforehand because these places haven't got a licence to... So they're already married, so everybody's going off to Italy for a party. And it's so wrong. I think it's so wrong.
Did you tell this to your son?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Can I have some more money, please? We've always gone half on weddings with the... we paid for our daughter's wedding, but we've gone half with the boys. And it did cost a lot of money. And I just thought, well, what a bloody waste. And you're married. It's a farce. It is a farce. Why doesn't somebody call it out as a farce? I actually felt embarrassed by it because I thought, well, I've given birth to a son who thinks a destination wedding is a good idea. Seriously. And yet the daughter, she wasn't at all like that. When she decided to get married, she already had 2 children. She wanted it low key. She wanted sort of bohemian, getting married in the forest and what have you. And then somehow it went from being bohemian, getting married in the forest, register office wedding to make it legal, to ended up in a priory with morning suits, with a gospel choir, and a Rolls Royce, and it wasn't because she wanted it. Just sort of evolved like that because they lived next door to a priory. So I said, well, it's a lovely old church, and it was a really, really, really lovely wedding. And Rob, who died sadly, his memorial service was in the same church a few years later. You know, that was the sadness of it.
What was that time like for you?
Awful. It's the normalising of it that makes me unhappy. So they've planted a tree. It's a huge hill over the road, which they used to walk up quite a lot. She's planted a tree that was given to her. And just see them go there with their little cups of hot chocolate, talking to Daddy and things, but not getting upset about it, because that's their normal now. And it's the normalising of it that makes me really sad. You know what I mean? It's been really difficult. She's been amazing. It's when something like that happens, it really brings you up short, and you think, well, makes you think what's important. And so now I'm not bothered about. I talk as if I'm bothered about privilege and education or what have you. I just want the grandchildren to be okay.
Do you see it as another chance with the grandchildren to do what you weren't able to do with your children? Education-wise and other principles?
Ironically, no. Only because when Rob died, they had this plan. They live in a village which has got a very, very nice private school. It's happens to be a boarding school, but it's a very nice school. And it was always planned for the children for them to go there. Mm. And I hated the fact that she was worried about what was going to happen. Actually, this is quite interesting. I haven't thought about this. Perhaps my view has changed because I see that as a place of security for them.
Interesting, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's local, they're not going to board, it's a friendly school. Everything they need is on the premises. Mm. So I think it's a place of security for them. So perhaps I've got no principles at all now. They had
I like how you hold all these worlds within you. Quite a juggling act. I can see why you need the long walks now.
Well, I know.
Just some wrestling, mental wrestling.
I know. I make my life sound really hard. It's not hard at all. The last couple of years has been hard because of the death. But apart from that, I'm really, really lucky. Parks like this, gorgeous, nice people, sun shining. It's just lovely.
What would you like to do with the rest of your life?
I've lost the energy.
Really though?
Seriously, I've really lost the energy.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
What if I say I don't agree?
No.
What if I say I see someone who looks very fit, who says they walk 2 to 4 hours a day, who has a number of very core principled opinions and is not afraid to share them in an articulate manner. I see someone with plenty to give, personally. And I think people listening to this would agree with me.
Well, I'd say that's because they don't know me. Seriously, honestly.
But what am I not seeing?
No, and I think this is genuinely old age. It's just so surprising to me how tired you get beyond 70. It's almost as if a switch has been flicked. Physically, I just feel so much more tired than I did a couple of years ago. All I want to do, my number one aim is to make my daughter's life easier.
Yeah, I understand.
That's all I want to do.
That's good. That's a good aim.
And we spend a lot of time going up and down helping out. Yeah. And we've got grandchildren in London, we do that. And I think that in itself is tiring. I mean, it is tiring.
Yeah. What if I said that, it's a slightly controversial opinion, maybe. Do you think a lack of energy can sometimes equate to a lack of purpose?
Oh, absolutely.
So what I mean by that is if you find something that you're particularly pumped about, energy comes.
I don't get that.
Could that be a thing?
I get energy to do things I have to do. So this morning before I came out, I was up on step ladders painting the ceiling. We've had ceilings plastered because it had to be done, and I did it. Didn't want to do it, but it's so long since I've thought, I'm really looking forward to something like that. I can't remember the last time. I think it's probably what's happened over the last couple of years. Sure. It's just sort of dented my enthusiasm for things.
Yeah, but I just think I don't know. Obviously, it's always easy from the outside to throw some ideas over, but it's quite rare you meet someone who really believes in things, you know?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
but if you've got no credibility, then you can say what you like. I have no credibility.
Well-
no, I don't.
I don't know, I think
my credibility died the day
I'm not sure.
John went to boarding school. Sorry, absolutely.
I think that credibility is in you rather than your past. Does that make sense? As a person, as what they bring to any given situation, that's
Yeah.
real. That for me is where credibility lies,
Yeah.
rather than in the decisions of your past. You could always just blame on your husband anyway.
Yeah. Well, I
And you
wouldn't
do.
Well, actually, no, I'd make him accountable for
Yeah.
certain decisions. The agreement that we had. That's what hurts, actually, the fact that we agreed that this wouldn't happen, it happened.
Oh God, yeah.
Because we
okay.
did, because we
There
were
you go.
poles
so
apart.
you can just blame him.
Well, no, I can't, because I've lived the life, haven't I? I've just, I wear diamond rings and things, for God's sakes. I can't pretend that I'm going to go back to Sunderland.
Just sell them all.
Yeah, could do, yeah.
You know, in a defiant stand.
Yeah.
You can do anything at any time.
I've got no credibility, so I genuinely feel that.
Okay.
Genuinely feel that.
I understand.
Yeah, yeah,
I think there's just lots in you.
yeah.
But let's see what, the future's a funny place, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else you wish you had the courage to do that you didn't?
Yes, I was going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have been a doctor. And I thought about doing that. And I missed the point. And I really, really wish I'd taken the bull by the horns, and I wish I'd done that. But instead, I've got my daughter and all her friends to be doctors.
Oh, that's
because they
okay.
weren't going to be doctors until I
Oh, you made them be doctors?
I didn't make them be doctors, but I offered them the option of helping them to become doctors. They didn't think they were good enough, quite clearly able, hugely compassionate and kind and what have you. So I would be the one who would sort of get them motivated and start and help them fill in
Oh,
forms
sweet.
and
That's
getting
lovely.
them. And all of them have made wonderful doctors.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, really, really,
well done. So
really
you
wonderful
encourage
doctors.
the next generation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a good motivator.
Fantastic.
That's
What a lovely thing to be.
Yeah. My daughter, she sent a letter last week from that she'd got from a patient thanking her for his life. And I thought, good on you, girl. You know, if you do
Lovely.
nothing else in your entire life, you've made a huge difference to that person.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah.
What would you like to happen at your funeral? It doesn't.
No, I'm not having a funeral.
Okay.
No.
You've already decided.
Well, I was. Actually, I've gone from one extreme to the other because I wanted to have my ashes thrown into the Ganges, only to make it more difficult for my husband, because my husband was in that field. He was a solicitor. When people died, he'd ring up somebody and say, and organise a funeral, because it was just like that.
Right. So there's
So I wanted
So
to
he'll
make
think
it
about you more
really,
because
really
it's
hard,
difficult for him.
Really, really hard. So I thought throwing my ashes in the Ganges would at least involve an air flight to India. Then I wanted to be buried, which is actually more difficult for him, in a mushroom blanket. Do you know what I mean by that? Yeah. He'd never heard of that. So I wanted him to find out from his mate, the undertaker, about them. He didn't know about them. I thought, this is a really good one, because they're going to have to go to extra measures to accommodate my wishes. No, an undertaker, I haven't heard of it.
Really?
Yeah, how odd. Or
Yeah.
perhaps that's just Sheffield. But now I'm going to have a cremation and no service.
No service at all?
No,
Nothing?
no. I think I've told my husband that just give it a couple of weeks before he moves on, and I'm fine with that. Because there would be lots of old people, old women in Sheffield who would
They're all going to come
love to
They're going to
have him
flock.
love to have him as a husband. So, in fact, he could do it straight away. Wouldn't mind in the slightest. Why would you? You just want someone to be happy, don't you?
Sure.
So, I'm hoping that I could just be cremated and that's it. And I'm hoping I can stay steadfast to being a lapsed Catholic. And I would really like to think that I had the bravery, the courage to go to my death without going back to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that I'd be weak, you know. Can I have a priest?
Oh, get the priest, go on.
Yeah, come on, may as well.
Oh,
May as well.
yeah.
Yeah. But I'd like to think that I had the courage not to do that, because I really, really don't like
Priest.
anything with it. Well, no, I just don't like the Catholic
Yeah.
Church. So
There we go. Well, you've reached the last question. What are you going to do next?
you mean immediately?
Either immediately or just generally, whatever you want to say, really.
I'll finish my walk, and the plan is in the next couple of days to go and help the grandchildren. My big project is to move.
After 45 years, you've got to do it. You've got to at least live in a house you like.
I know. That's what I said to my husband.
Can you just get your own house, maybe?
I've
next
said that
door?
to my husband. No, I've studio apartment, studio flat for me.
Yeah, why don't you just do that?
Because he doesn't want it.
We could do a studio nearby.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should insist on the house you like next.
Yeah.
It's your turn now.
I know. Well, I think it is anyway, but
I
that would be
definitely think it is.
in the next year. That's what I want. I want to have moved house. Hopefully, things have moved on a bit for the daughter, and you know, just be okay. Really,
Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
I've rattled on a bit, haven't I?
Well, that's the dream, really.
Yeah. You're very good at not butting in and things. Is this a gift that you've got, or is it? Have you honed a skill?
I don't know, really. It's hard for me to say that I have a gift. I would more say that...
I think listening. See what I've done now? I've just interrupted you. No, this is me all along. I've interrupted you because I think listening is a really, really special gift.
I think it probably is, but it's hard to think of oneself as having a gift for something, you know?
Why?
Unless you're like a footballer or something. It's just me, I suppose. But you know, I don't, yeah.
And then you'll do another one today, will you? or-
I'll just do as many as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to me.
Absolute honour.
Some kind of night, sour at the table. Weird kind of bark, thin through the phone. Some kind of tart you won't have tasted. Untie the mind, do it alone. It's funny what the eyes complete. Empty rooms and tapping feet. Used to what we live without. I hate this house. Strange kind of dream. I took a right turn. All of the walls ended in you. Go to the tree, talk as it brightens. Nothing at all feels like it's new. It's funny what the